we need a period of not being in communication with the person that we were with and that we were really in love with and that we had plans and hopes for a future with. It can be a very, very good thing. It is a good thing. I know in the beginning when you are fresh out of a breakup, it just doesn't feel like it's ever going to feel better, and it doesn't feel like going no contact is a solution. In fact, it might feel like if you could just talk to this person, you might convince them to change their mind, right? And the thing about when you are just too busy trying to get back with an ex-partner, when you're too busy trying to blame an ex-partner, you will not have time to grow. There will not be space for you to learn anything from the breakup. So that's why no contact is important. You have to sit with your thoughts. You have to look at things from a very objective perspective. Don't be afraid to move forward with your life. You are allowed to do that, and allow the other party to move on with their life too. Hi community, welcome back to acupfulll. Thank you so much for joining me. I really do appreciate it. I'm so happy you're here. I am so happy that I'm here. It's so good to be here, that you have chosen to be here. I'm saying the same thing. But yeah, you get me. I hope that you have been doing good, taking care of yourself, all of the good stuffs. I've done a lot of growing and changing over the last year alone, and it dawned on me when I was preparing for this episode that I have achieved my goal of no longer self-sabotaging. I'm finally at a place where I love myself so much that I will absolutely not be putting myself in harm's way, nor will I be taking any blessing for granted. I am not going to run away when there is an opportunity for me to learn and grow. And I hope that you are also getting to that place in your life too, especially if you have struggled with self-sabotaging in the past. And even if you are still struggling with it now, there is always going to be time for you to work on that thing. So yeah, I hope the podcast helps, and I hope you are seeing that you are worthy of so much more than constantly putting yourself through the most. So, in the name of not self-sabotaging, in this week's episode, we are talking going no contact after a breakup. If you are lucky enough, I'm not going to say luck. I don't want to use the word luck. But when you have made the decision as an individual that you are only going to be with one person, then you will most likely not experience a breakup, and that is great. That is something that I believe we should all strive for. I am absolutely not pro hopping, skipping, jumping from one relationship to another. I'm also not somebody that believes in the fact that you have to be with many people before you find your person, or before you find the one, for lack of a better word. I don't believe in that anymore. I used to believe that to be true, that as human beings we should date and date and date and date until we find the person that we want to settle down with. But that doesn't have to be the truth at all. It doesn't have to be like that. You can find one person and be with one person forever. There are people that they were each other's firsts, and it stayed that way, and they've been married for decades, and it's a good thing to desire. And I'm going to tell you right now, if that's what you want, then stick to that. Even if you hear on social media that that's not a good thing, and that we should explore, and that we should have multiple people to understand which traits in a person we like and which ones we don't, you can very well understand all of that without dating many people, without going through so much heartbreak that it just ends up feeling like love is not a real thing anymore. There is no need. That's what I'm getting at. So you don't have to go through a breakup. You really don't have to. And if you're someone who has told yourself that that's something that you don't want to experience, you want your first boyfriend to be your only boyfriend, then I say do it. And I say stick to that desire that you have. It will happen when it's supposed to happen. But otherwise, outside of that, breakups are a real thing. And I've experienced one. I have definitely experienced one. They're painful. Breakups are very, very painful, especially if you had been with that person for an extended period of time and there are a lot of memories and sharing that happened, whether that be emotional, mental, spiritual, and even physical. And it can be overwhelming to deal with the fact that you're no longer going to be with that person and all the plans you had made together are no longer going to happen. I speak from experience. I do. It's sore. Whether it was a healthy relationship also or an unhealthy one, it's still painful. We are human, so we are going to be hurt. Even those that say they are pros at detaching. By the way, it is not detaching when you get out of one relationship and quickly get into another one. That is called running away and trying to unhealthily soothe a broken heart. And I'm just saying, and I'm saying it from a place of love and care, that is dysfunctional. And you are doing yourself a great injustice when you are not properly dealing with your feelings and your emotions. And so that's why I'm going to propose going no contact, and that's why I wanted to speak on this topic. I just to share a little bit without saying too much, but I am now just about a year and a half, no, not a year and a half, a year and some months that I went no contact from my ex. And I can tell you right now that the psychology behind no contact, it's spot on. It's very, very true. We need a period of not being in communication with the person that we were with and that we were really in love with and that we had plans and hopes for a future with. It can be a very, very good thing. It is a good thing. I know in the beginning when you are fresh out of a breakup, it just doesn't feel like it's ever going to feel better, and it doesn't feel like going no contact is a solution. In fact, it might feel like if you could just talk to this person, you might convince them to change their mind, right? And again, you shouldn't feel bad for feeling that way. You are a human being, but don't act on it. It's better to just completely cut off contact with a person so that you can properly deal with your feelings, with your emotions. And yes, I do recommend it. It is quite effective and I think it's very, very helpful. And no contact is not you saying that you now hate a person or that you never want to see a person again or that they just broke your heart so much that you just cannot stand them. That's not what you're saying. More than anything, going no contact is for you. And if you give yourself some time and some space, you are going to see that it is a very effective strategy or plan to implement. So according to an article that I found, for many, the no contact rule emerges as a powerful strategy, offering a defined period where communication with an ex is intentionally cut off. It also serves as a vital tool for post-breakup healing by allowing individuals to step back and process their emotions without the interference of ongoing communication. It allows for a shift in perspective, fostering a realistic view of the ex-partner beyond the romanticized one. And this is very, very true. Like I said, it's been a year and some months for me. No contact gives you a chance. It gave me a chance to really sit with myself and feel my feelings, understand what I was feeling, and then obviously have a much more objective view of the relationship and of your ex-partner, for me, of my ex-partner, of course. And when I say realistic, again, this is not now saying, oh my goodness, this is such a bad person, I dislike them, they're a monster, and they hurt me and they did this in the relationship and they did that, and I would talk to them about this and they would never do anything about it. That is not what it is about. As a matter of fact, it gave me an opportunity to see that this is actually a lovely person. They are not a bad person. The relationship wasn't an awful experience, but there are things that I needed to see for what they were. Things about myself, especially. I'm going to mostly speak about things about myself. There were things that I've shared in a previous episode about how I was somebody that struggled with effective communication. So instead of being expressive of myself and being expressive of my feelings, I would want to brush things under the carpet, or I just would not want to share my true feelings. And then I would eventually I would keep all of these things in. And then when that last thing happens, then I'm almost unraveling. And that was a big thing that I had to realize about myself, that was a contributing factor. The fact that I was not always honest and I wasn't always open about my true feelings. And so I kept a lot of things in, and that was not very healthy. And it did, in one way or another, even if it was 12%, it impacted the relationship negatively. So something like that, the space apart gave me a chance to see that there are things about myself that I need to work on. And the thing about when you are just too busy trying to get back with an ex-partner, when you're too busy trying to blame an ex-partner, you will not have time to grow. There will not be space for you to learn anything from the breakup. So that's why no contact is important. You have to sit with your thoughts. You have to look at things from a very objective perspective. And that can also be scary because, again, we are human beings, and it is in our human nature to want to blame other people. It is in our human nature to want to point fingers, right? But when you give yourself the chance, you are going to really be able to tap into that self-awareness and realize that, oh my goodness, there's this about me, and it affected this relationship in this way. And so that's something that I want to work on so that I don't repeat it. So yeah, I found that no contact has been very, very helpful, and it has given me an opportunity to be a lot more objective than I would have been, or than I was 1 month after the breakup. Okay, so how do you effectively enforce the no contact rule with your ex? Please, I'm asking you very nicely, my dearly beloved sister. Please don't employ the no contact rule with the intention of making your ex realize their loss. It is not a tool for manipulation or a game to win him back. The effectiveness of the no contact rule lies in its purpose, which cannot be to see who breaks first. This is not a competition. It is not about that. Like I said, you need to see this as, this is for me. I'm doing this for me. I want to heal. I really want to be a lot more objective about things. So this is for me. This is not for anyone else. And of course, I'm not saying that you won't feel like you want to get back together with your ex. I'm not saying that it won't feel like you need to pick up the phone and call him. I'm not saying that. But I am saying don't act on it. And I am saying just don't think about this as who is going to break first. It's not a game of cat and mouse. These are your feelings. This is your emotional well-being. This is your overall well-being, and you don't want to play around with it like that. So it's very important for you to clearly define the boundaries of no contact, period. Now take this with a pinch of salt. You can communicate this decision to your ex if you feel like it's necessary. And I guess this will be This will be a little bit more different for people that have a child together. This is not universal information that just everyone can implement or apply. Maybe you can implement no contact with an ex even when you do have a child. Maybe your parent will handle the communication, or an aunt or an elderly in your life. Maybe you will be able to have that set up. But if you won't, then obviously this won't work for you. But for people that don't have kids and you are not married also, that's why I'm saying this is not universal information. If you don't have a kid, you weren't married, you were just boyfriend and girlfriend, and you did not live together, because some people cohabitate, and so when you are going to now break up and you have to move, maybe you even bought the place together, you bought some items together, no contact is not going to work until you've sorted all of that out. So yeah, let's just say you were just boyfriend and girlfriend, you were not living together, no marriage, no kids, then it won't be necessary for you to communicate this decision to them. You can just block him, you can delete his number, unfollow him on social media, or even block him on social media. Delete all of your chats on the different social media platforms, as well as deleting all of the pictures and videos of the two of you. Okay? And this might sound harsh. I know that somebody else might say, oh my goodness, that is so extreme. But it is called no contact for a reason. And you're not even making any contact with videos or pictures you had. You need to delete everything. That is a good way to be able to move on without constantly finding yourself back in that relationship, or constantly finding yourself with these feelings that are still very alive and you want to act on them. So yeah, I think it is a good idea to just have complete no contact, go cold turkey. It is worth trying to see if that's something that will work for you. But again, you run the risk, especially when the feelings are so fresh. If you don't go no contact, when the feelings are very fresh, you run the risk of wanting to contact your ex, or of him being able to contact you. And I don't think that it's a good idea. We don't need to be dabbling in all of that. So yeah, you need to have clear boundaries with yourself, most importantly. And again, if you are somebody that was married to this person, or you are cohabiting, or you have a child with them or children, then the boundaries need to become even clearer, because you need to be communicating with them directly, and there just has to be a way forward, right, to help avoid confusion and prevent unintentional breaches that could compromise the healing process, your healing process. So yeah, use the time away from your ex to invest in personal growth. A study published in the Journal of Divorce and Remarriage emphasizes the importance of introspection in gaining fresh insights and identifying areas for improvement. Genuine introspection is vital for assessing the potential for progress in a relationship, and this is going to be very helpful for the relationship with yourself, and even how you're going to pursue your future romantic relationship. And like I said, when I said to myself, I'm going no contact, I don't want to end up in a toxic and weird cycle where it's almost as if I'm playing cat and mouse with my ex. And I didn't want to find myself disrespecting his boundaries and his wishes, and also just disrespecting myself. So that's why I said no contact. Otherwise, if you don't put boundaries in place for yourself, you won't have the space to even get to a place where you can do the introspection and identify the areas for improvement. And I'm going to repeat it. The no contact for me has really given me space to introspect and to look deep inside of myself and understand the role that I played, forgive myself, improve on the things that I need to improve. And when I say the role that I played, I mean the role that I played in the breakdown or towards the breakdown of the relationship. So yeah, you need to introspect. You need that time away from the other person. If you do not give yourself that time, there is a very high chance that you're just going to end up finding yourself back to square one, or even worse, going around in circles. Yeah, you're just going to keep finding yourself going around in circles, and you don't want that. So engage in activities that bring joy and strive for self-improvement, whether it involves pursuing a hobby or exercising or seeking therapy. You need to channel your energy into positive endeavors that enhance your overall well-being, and identify and steer clear of potential emotional triggers. These triggers may include revisiting shared spaces, checking your ex's social media, or dwelling on memories. You see, that's why I said it would be a lot better to just either block or mute, or just even remove yourself from your social media platforms for a couple of months, to give yourself some time to really work through those feelings, those emotions. And once you've done that, and once you feel like you have the self-control, you can then go back on social media. But I just think that it is just better to block a person and to not go back down that road, because it's you just can easily fall into to the temptation, or fall or lean on the temptation of, oh my goodness, I'm going to text this person. It might even feel like a need when it's not a need. I'm going to text this person and just say hello and see where that goes. The same with the dwelling on old memories or on memories. That's why I said delete videos, delete pictures, so that you are properly able to move on, and so that you can gain that perspective that you need. Yeah, avoiding such triggers creates a really conducive environment for emotional healing. Rather do all of this than potentially get caught up in what can end up becoming a toxic back and forth with your ex, or just not just a toxic back and forth with your ex, but a very toxic back and forth with yourself, and where you are looking to show him what he has lost, stalking his social media pages, going into spaces he frequents, even trying to stay in contact with his loved ones, whether it be friends or siblings. That is very unhealthy and will absolutely, without a single doubt, hold you back and even keep you from truly and fully living your life. Because now your life is just going to fully depend on getting this person's attention. And if you really sit down and give yourself a chance to just be with yourself, you'll see that it isn't worth it, right? You will see that it is not worth it. So yeah, just be very mindful of yourself. Remember that you are working through feelings, emotions. And I just also want to mention that even 5 months into no contact, even 6, even a year into no contact, for somebody who was with somebody for a long time, it might still feel like you have feelings. There are lingering feelings. Continue to work through your feelings and continue to maintain no contact. Don't try and get into contact with a person. And if you run into a person, that might just be a different story. It would be up to you if you are going to just say hello, or if you're not going to say anything, or you're going to have a conversation. It would also be up to you to gauge your feelings, your emotions, where you are at that point in time. But ladies, I'm going to say it again. It's just better to let things be and work on moving forward and work on finding peace. And just remember that some things are just meant to end. Some things are not going to last forever. And I liked what someone said in an interview that I was watching. She said that her marriage ending, because she's going through the process of divorce right now, her marriage ending didn't make her hate love or marriage. She's still somebody that loves love she's still somebody that wants to get married again in the future. She just believes that was not meant to be, and the relationship ending has now pushed her closer to her meeting the person she's meant to be with. And that's what happens when you give yourself the time and space. You can have a different perspective, and you don't see the other party as a villain. You see it as, we just weren't compatible, or we were never going to work because we had different ideas of how life should be lived. You go from seeing that person as a horrible person to them just being a human being and you being a human being, and there wasn't necessarily the alignment that is needed in a relationship that is going to stand the test of time. So, yeah. Don't be afraid to move forward with your life. You are allowed to do that, and allow the other party to move on with their life too. So, yeah, just be mindful of that and work on effectively enforcing the no contact rule. And I've also realized that sometimes the back and forth can end up happening. People end up falling into that pit or that place of the back and forth because they're afraid of being alone, or they're afraid of dealing with the loneliness. But the thing is, you cannot avoid it. It's the part of a breakup that you shouldn't try and avoid at all. And this brings me to how to manage the loneliness and sadness during the no contact period, right? So one of the emotional challenges of severing ties involves acknowledging and addressing the loneliness and sadness that often accompany this phase. It's an inevitable aspect of maintaining personal well-being as you untangle yourself from a past relationship. And let me tell you something. It was very difficult to navigate those feelings of loneliness because I had been with this person for what felt like a long time for me, and now they aren't there anymore. And now it's just so quiet, and I feel alone, and I feel very sad, and that hurt. And sitting through that really sucked. But I will say that now that I'm on the other side of it and I have healed quite well and I feel a lot better, I'm going to tell you that it's very, very important. It's sore, it's difficult, it's very uncomfortable. It can be frustrating sometimes, but it needs to happen. And also remember, like I said, emotions, they're going to surge unexpectedly. It's quite a delicate phase to be in, so you need to adopt clear strategies to cope. That's very, very important. Some of the things you can do is to shift your focus inwards. So by that I mean, instead of seeking external validation, trying to get into contact with your ex, trying to get into another relationship, a rebound, whatever it is, trying to distract yourself, don't do that. Use the no contact period as an opportunity to build your emotional resilience, right? And again, it's hard, but that stretching of your emotions and that testing of your self-control as well, it will make you emotionally resilient. In the future, you are going to be able to navigate, even in a situation where you are having to deal with friendship heartbreak, you will be able to navigate those feelings a lot better. God forbid, because I don't think that anyone wants to experience heartbreak, but should you experience heartbreak again in the future, then you would be a lot more emotionally resilient, right? So yeah, find validation within yourself and recognize your own worth that is independent of external acknowledgement. And I know that some people will say, but the best way to forget about the other person is to get with another person. It's not the best way. I think it's very unhealthy. I think it's very dysfunctional. You do not have any time to deal with your actual raw, sore feelings and emotions, and you are going to carry that into whatever it is you are choosing to engage in with another person. And you might even end up expecting them to help you soothe or carry the things you are feeling, which is unfair. So it's just better to sit with yourself, to be single. There's nothing wrong with being single, ladies. There's also nothing wrong with not being in a relationship, with not seeing anyone, with not flirting with anyone, with not entertaining anyone. Sometimes we just need to be single for a while and really figure ourselves out. So yeah, engage in meaningful and healthy distractions also. Distract yourself with activities that have a positive impact, such as volunteering, learning a new skill, or spending more time with yourself. Going on solo dates, absolutely lovely. I've spent the last year tapping into parts of myself I had forgotten about, that I didn't even know existed. Some I didn't know existed. And that has been great. It has been very exciting to develop such a good relationship with myself. And keep your mind occupied with activities that align with your values and contribute to your personal growth, you know? Another thing is to lean into your support system. So according to research, social support serves as an adaptive coping mechanism during breakups. Connect with friends and family for emotional support. Join social groups or clubs to meet new people and participate in activities you enjoy, whether it's hiking or running, whether you are part of a book club, whatever it may be. Give yourself the time and the space to go into new spaces, to meet new people. If emotions become overwhelming, consider seeking therapy or counseling with a professional. And if you cannot afford therapy, or if that doesn't work for you, then speak to somebody that is close to you, that you trust, that is of sound mind, that is wise, that has discernment. While you navigate the no contact rule with intention, remember that this rule is not bound by a rigid formula or specific 30, 60, 90-day plan. Instead, it is a space and time for you to heal, right? Recognizing that there's no universal timeline, the re-establishment of contact should align with genuine reconciliation determined by personal healing and growth, not impulsive reactions. So if you choose to get into contact with an ex, let it be from a place of I'm well, I'm healed, I am of sound mind, and I know exactly what I want moving forward. And maybe once that period has ended, that no contact period has ended, you will realize that you're happy that the relationship ended. Or maybe you're going to realize that you would like to be friends. And that brings me to whether being friends after no contact is a good idea. So, you know what? It's tricky, right? It's quite, it can get very sticky very quickly if you are not careful. And that's why implementing no contact is very, very, very important, because that gives you the space to go through your feelings, work through your emotions, work through everything, and think about things a lot more carefully. That's why at the end it could be that I just never want to be in contact with this person again. I never want to see them again. I wish them well with everything in me, but I know that they're not my person. Or it could be that that's somebody that was my friend first, and I would really like to connect in that way. And I want to see where that can go, so I'm going to reach out because I feel ready. It could also be that the feelings are still very strong and you want to try again. You took the time apart, you needed it to sort yourself out. So again, this is not going to be me just making blanket statements or saying that this is black, this is white. I know that there are some gray areas. So yeah, there are a lot of gray areas, but on the most part, the possibility of reconciliation after no contact, that period largely after the no contact period, that largely depends on the nature of the relationship and the progress made during the separation. Like I said, if you still love this person and you know that this is your person, and you know that the time apart has given you time to work on yourself, then I'm not going to tell you to not go for it. But you need to be absolutely certain that you are going to be able to do far better than you did previously in the relationship, or that you are going to this person knowing exactly what you want, and you know also that if they are not able to give that to you, you're going to walk away. You're not going to fall back into a relationship that is not going to serve you, that is going to set you back, right? So if both individuals have grown and healed and are genuinely interested in maintaining a platonic connection, also, friendship can be considered. To be honest, and this is just my opinion now, this is not a fact, this has got nothing to do with research, I think that this might just be a little easier and have a lot less of a possibility to be catastrophically messy if there was no sex involved. And for the people that have been able to come back together and maintain friendship even though they were sexually involved, is something that probably takes a lot of open and honest conversation, discipline, and self-control, and maybe that they aren't as sensitive, or they're not very sensitive to a certain extent. There isn't I don't even know how to say it, but there isn't a deep sensitivity on both people's ends, and they aren't really sensitive to something like the intimacy of sex. Then yeah, I guess you can go ahead and do that. But it's really just not for me. That's not something that I would ever be comfortable with doing. If I have been involved with a person in that way, there is no way that I could be friends with them. They are also, and I'm going to repeat it, a lot of what I've been saying is not going to be universal, right? So if you have children, obviously, and you need to co-parent, then you have to find a way around it. You have to find a way around creating a positive environment for your child, and not letting the fact that you were intimate once before stand in the way of creating that positive and safe environment. So yeah, especially if the co-parents or the parents wanted to be more than drop-offs and pickups and school concerts, and they want to create a strong and united front for their kids, then they will probably have to find their way around it. But personally, that is not something that I can do. Kudos to anyone that has done that and it has worked out for you. That's great. We are all very different. We all receive things differently, and we all partake in things differently and respond to things differently. So yeah. A study published suggests that friendship for security or practical reasons tends to have positive outcomes, especially if it is built on trust and emotional support. So practical friendships, like those involving shared responsibilities such as parenting or work, can be very rewarding. And again, also, this actually reminds me of the series Insecure that was created by Issa Rae. If you are in your 20-somethings and you have not watched Insecure yet, I think you should. It is just, it's so good. I really enjoyed it. I watched it a second time, which was last year, and it was even better than it was before, because I'm a lot more mature now, I'm grown, and there are things that I can relate to and that I understand a lot better. But this reminds me of Issa and her boyfriend. What's that guy's name again? Lawrence. Issa and Lawrence, they had to find their way around being together or being in the same spaces, because they had a shared friend group. And again, that's obviously a completely different story if you are a group of friends from university and you guys were dating and then you break up. And there are still things to go to. You still need to show up. Everyone's still friends with everyone. You have to find your way around it. Plot twist is that Issa and Lawrence ended up getting back together. They eventually got married, and he had a child outside of their marriage because he got with somebody else whilst they were broken up. And yeah, I think you can kind of tell where that's going. So eventually they got back together because the feelings were just too strong. And that's just another thing. When there's friendship involved, you have to find a way. When you work in the same space, you have to find a way. When you have kids, you've got to find a way. So it is doable. It is doable. That's why I said it is my opinion. I know that what works for me or what I prefer is not what somebody else is going to prefer, and it's not what's going to work for them. There are many people that have gone on to be good friends with their exes, even those that they were sexually involved with. So, yeah. But just reminded me that Insecure had a similar storyline. And I just want to add that they ended up getting back together also because they loved each other. The feelings were still very much there. But then I just think about it and I go, do you see why I could never ever be friends with somebody who I was intimately involved with? It's almost as if there's going to be a thing that will always be there. And you won't be able to deny it. You won't be able to change it. And that would be at the back of my mind every time I'm sitting with that person, every time I am talking to that person, it would be at the back of my mind. And I'm just being very honest here. So, yeah. So, yeah, it's not going to be the same for all of us. It won't be the same for all of us. But yeah, no, it just wouldn't work for me. It wouldn't work for me. I also found in some of the research that I was doing that friendships based on civility or lingering romantic feelings may be less stable. That's what I was talking about. They risk complications or heartbreak or jealousy. So to determine the health of your ex-friendship, you need to honestly evaluate your motivations. And you can just ask yourself a few questions. You can go about it in the following ways. You can evaluate whether the relationship had toxic elements. If toxicity was present, being friends may not be in the best interest of either party. Communicate. You need to discuss expectations, boundaries, and the reasons for wanting to maintain a friendship to ensure that both individuals are on the same page. Establish boundaries when transitioning from no contact to friendships. Very important. Recognize that the dynamics are not going to be the same. It's going to change, and both parties should be comfortable with the new terms. If at any point the friendship becomes emotionally challenging, it may be necessary to reassess its viability and prioritize personal growth and self-care. So, yeah. Gotta be careful. Gotta be very, very careful. Overall, I recommend no contact. It has given me an opportunity to grow so much, to learn a lot. Just looking back, there's so much that I can take away from the beginning of going no contact, even the relationship itself. And there are things that used to be, oh my goodness, this absolutely was hurtful and I cannot believe that happened. And now I'm just like, we are both human beings. At the time, we were both in very different places, and there was a lot of changing and growing that needed to happen. And so he's not a bad person, neither am I. And I'm grateful that I've been able to get to where I have. And I don't feel any resentment or anger or frustration or dislike towards myself or towards him. Like I said, I think that he is a lovely person and I wish him all the best. I always will. And yeah, I want him to have good things, to experience good connections with people, to go on to have a lovely romantic relationship in the future, if that is not something that is already happening. So yeah, and this place, I got to this place by actively choosing to heal and to work on myself. And that's another thing about breakups, that's something that they give you time and space to do. You get to heal and grow and realize that there are things that you like and things that you don't like, and there are things that you want and there are things that you don't want. And another really good thing that has come out of just being on my own is appreciating how beautiful it is to be single and to just spend time on myself, working through certain things, and just being content with it, because ultimately it's very important to be okay with being single. And when I say okay, I'm not saying you do not desire companionship. I'm not saying that there are some days where you wish like you were in a relationship, a very healthy, loving, fulfilling relationship. No. I mean, you have to be okay with the fact of the matter that you are single, that you are not in a relationship, and that also really will save and protect you from just getting into any kind of relationship with any kind of person, or hooking up with people, or having flings that don't really go anywhere. So ultimately, at the end of all of it, in conclusion, in totality, I recommend it. I think that we should all give ourselves a chance to just be, because sometimes that's all that we really need, to just be, and to have a period where it's just you and you. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. There is absolutely nothing wrong with that. Thank you so much for joining me. This is definitely where we are ending this week's episode. I really enjoyed recording this. I really, really did. It will always feel good to look back on a time where I didn't think I'd get through a thing and see where I am now, and just be happy with the progress that I've made. That's really, really great. And that's how I feel now, specifically on this topic. And if you are somebody that's going through a breakup, or you are struggling through no contact, I just want to let you know that you can do it. You can absolutely do it. You just need to give yourself today, and then the next day, and the day after that. And I promise you, time does heal all wounds. It really, really does. Thank you so much for joining me. I really do appreciate it. I am so grateful that you have gotten to this point of the episode. Please don't forget that A Cup Full is on all listening platforms. So if you're trying to let somebody know, you can just tell them that. They will be able to find it wherever it is that they listen to their podcast. It's also on YouTube. For people that don't use Spotify, Apple Podcast, even YouTube Music, you can let them know that it's on YouTube. I have added all of the links in the show notes, so you can scroll down and you'll be able to find links to the TikTok account, email address, everything really. Speaking of TikTok, if you are looking to find A Cup Full on TikTok, and even if it's not to follow, but to share any thoughts that you might have, because DMs are always open for you to share your thoughts, to share your opinions, to just share anything that you want to share. Have a lovely remainder of this week. Work when you need to, rest when you need to. Be good to yourself and be good to other people. Don't forget that you just got to take it one day at a time. And most importantly, keep doing the things that fill your cup.